Greetings once again. It's a pleasure to be back, and I'm glad that we're going to share more again today. And in this particular video today, I'm going to talk about how to handle quality incidents in community pharmacy practice. And the reason that this is an interest to me is because I have been having conversation with some of my colleagues who are working in the community pharmacy space. And in those conversations, what we realize is there are certain incidences that we are identifying in practice, which are not the common way of things, and we are handling them in our own different ways. But in so doing, then the question that we need to ask ourselves is, are we risking the well-being of the patients? Are we not correcting these issues in terms of ensuring there's a whole system of management of such quality incidents? And how do we make it be a quality management system that is in place for community pharmacy practice? And on this account, I'm going to be very keen in terms of there are good distribution practices that are prescribed and actually documented by the Pharmacy and Poisons Board, our main regulator in the pharmaceutical industry. And other than that, we also know from a quality assurance practice level within the pharmacy training and even in our terms of our practice in continuous professional development that we need to uphold certain standards on quality and professionalism in service delivery. And therefore, the best way to do this is by ensuring we handle quality incidents in a better way, in a structured and formalized pattern. So that at the end of the day, we are ensuring there's a culture of continuous improvement. And on this account, I'm going to refer you back to two videos that I did earlier this year. The first one was on documentation and why we need to document our activities as as pharmacists generally, and as any other profession. Then other than documentation, the other bit was in the case of adopting a culture of continuous improvement. And on that account, one of the key things for us was in terms of quality incidents, how do we handle them? Do we document them? Do we create knowledge and information that is going to guide us to the next level in terms of improving the service delivery and improving the quality of outcomes in our practice, and also growing the profession in where we are? So on this account there, I need to start from a point of what are quality incidents? So quality incidents generally, you'd say it's an activity or incident, an occurrence that is going to compromise on the quality either of the product or the outcome of care and the wellness of the patient that you're serving. So therefore, if you have such kind of an activity, an occurrence, or a happening that does not comply with the standard of what would be expected at that particular point in time, that is a quality incident. And it's upon us to ensure that this occurrence that is in our practice, that involves a product, involves a patient, involves our own professional practice, or even our premise where it is not going to affect the ultimate quality. And if it does affect on this one particular moment in time, we put in place corrective measures that will ensure it doesn't happen in the next phase. And when you talk about quality incidents in community pharmacy practice, this is in the healthcare space. And we all know the discussion that we've been having about the 5 rights in drug administration and drug use. We need the right product for the right patient based on the indication that it is for that particular patient. I don't want to give David Odhiambo medicine that is for David Otieno, and that would be wrong. So the right patient. Then is it at the right time? First of all, is in terms of when are we making the diagnosis? Then after making the diagnosis, at what time should the medicine be used? Do we have the right intervals, the right dosage? What quantities of medicine should be used? If I should be taking 1 gram of a particular medicine and you're giving me half the dose or even double the dose, that is not the right mechanism. The route, is it the right route of medication use? If I, for example, the preferred route for the particular drug would be by injection for immediate action and any other conditions and any other provisions in terms of our assessment, then are we going by that route or are we going with another one? So those are all concerns that we need to look at when we're talking about the 5 rights in terms of drug administration and drug use. So on that account, then I need to move to the next level where I'm talking about what are the product concerns that we normally have in our challenges. And most of the times when I think of it in terms of quality incidents, most of them are involving products. And this is what I wanted to talk about today, because we're dealing with medicines and the quality of our medicines is actually a critical piece in the quality of healthcare services that people will realize from the treatment that we offer them. And on that account, when we look at even our own general practice from Pharmacy and Poisons Board, what is their mission? To ensure there's access to safe, effective, and quality medicines. Safe, effective, and quality medicines. From a global perspective, everybody's talking about ensuring the medicines are safe, they are of the right quality, and they are effective in managing the patients. So how do we then, what are the concerns that would be associated with products? We know some of these would involve counterfeit products that are getting into the market. These are products that are not actually the ones they are claimed to be. And therefore, it means maybe David is producing medicines in his own kitchen, yet claiming to be one of the big companies that are reputable in the industry. So somebody buys a fake product, but assuming it is the intended product they were intending to buy. So that is wrong. The other product concern, when we talk about safety and falsified counterfeit products, then we move to the other one where we have the products that are for other markets. And that is where we now talk about supply chain integrity. A product, maybe let's say, for example, in our region, it's intended to be used and marketed in the European nations, where we have the winters and the temperature conditions are totally different climatic zones. And now you find it in the Kenyan market. It definitely does not meet the environmental conditions in terms of the stability data that was obtained and the storage conditions that are recommended for it. And therefore, if it is in our market, then the question is, does it meet the standards of what is expected of it? And the other bit can also include the languages. Imagine a product that is in the Kenyan market. Generally, for the Kenyan regulatory systems, we recommend that a product has to be in English or Kiswahili, because those are the national languages that are comprehensible to the local population. If a product comes in French, if a product comes in Spanish, it comes in German, Turkish, Russian, Chinese, almost definitely we are assured that most of our people will not be able to comprehend that language. So if you're a pharmacist selling such a medicine profession, ask yourself, am I doing them a service or a disservice? If they need to read the information literature that is provided with the pack, and all of them are in foreign languages, they don't even comprehend it. They cannot even identify which language that is, maybe for some of them. That is a failure already in the system. And if that doesn't happen, then there is risk that they might use it wrongly, use it for the wrong conditions, or might even actually confuse it with other medicines, assuming we considering with some might be using more than one drug. So we need to look out for that. Some of the times we have flaws in our own production system, let's say from a pharmaceutical company perspective, and therefore with these flaws, a medicine was to be packed, let's say, for example, a particular pack was to contain 2 particular packs of blisters, each of them containing 10 tablets. And in the production during the packaging point, we only take 10 tablets in one blister pack, but then the other pack was not inserted into the secondary packaging box that we have. So instead of being 20 tablets, there are 10. That is already a fault in terms of the quality. In certain cases, you have the 2 packs into the box, but the packs have 0 medicines or have the broken tablets or broken capsules, or some of them don't even have any medicines, or the box moved through the conveyor without any medicine or even any blisters that have been to it. Therefore, that is already packs that are having issues. The labels on the pack. A product is labeled in a particular way in terms of the language we talked about. The pack label would be, its product, let's say, for example, paracetamol. It should be 1 gram, but it's packed, and it is 1 gram, yes, but indicated 500 milligrams or indicated 10,000 milligrams. Let's say confusing 1,000 milligrams to 100 milligrams or 100 to 10,000. So those are the challenges. And that label has to conform with the strength of the medicines. Assuming you are giving a patient medication that is supposed to be, let's say, 1,000 milligrams, they need to take 1 tablet twice or thrice a day. And in the pack label is indicated 100 milligrams. The patient has a higher risk of taking actually 10 tablets at a time. That is going to cause harm to the patient because that is overdose already. It's just a result of the poor labeling on the packaging. The other quality incident that we can look at is in terms of having looking at the regulatory status. A product is not registered in the market. And one key thing that we have to acknowledge is the Pharmacy and Poisons Board portal has the regulatory procedures and decisions window that has all of the products that are registered in the Kenyan market. And therefore, you as an individual pharmacist, you have the ability to scan through the website to check if this medicine I'm stocking, is it registered in the first place? And that is what we need to look at. 2, is the person supplying it to me a registered distributor, wholesaler, or whichever it is? Are they registered distributors and handlers of these products according to the good distribution practices? Goodness is the Pharmacy and Poison Board has a portal where you can check actually for a product, who is the marketing authorization holder, who are the distributors, and you can see all the registered outlets. So if I'm saying, for example, today I mentioned company X, and I say it's registered, you can just go to the Pharmacy and Poisons Board portal and check whether it's one of the registered pharmaceutical outlets. And if not, you are encouraged not to buy any product with them, not to deal with them. And actually the best thing is now to report it to the regulator to assess whether they are practicing according to the regulations or they are flaunting the rules so that the proper action can be taken to ensure we safeguard our markets. So some of these things happen. That is what we wish they won't happen, but they do happen. So when they happen, then what do we need to do as individuals practicing? The first thing around quality incident management process is about preparation. We have to acknowledge that these are challenges that are happening, and that is why we have laws. We have laws because some people flaunt them. We have rules and procedures because sometimes we might not work according to those stipulated guidelines and procedures. And therefore, when such kind of an incident happens, we need to be prepared on how do we handle it. And that preparation is one, acknowledging that there are chances that we'll have incidences. If those incidences happen, we have to prepare for them. We should have what are the documentation? What do we need to do? As a pharmacy, do you have a quality incident management framework? And some of the things that I normally think of in terms of quality incident management is just having kind of a form that you're using, quality incident form. And that quality incident form would capture the premise where you are working. You should have the name of the premise, the date that that incident happened, the brief narration or a brief description of what it is, the nature of the incident. Is it a big quality, a major, minor? Is it critical? Then the other bit, when you look at it in terms of the frequency, there are other than the major, there are some that are repetitive. There are some that are complex because they involve probably several people. Let's say, for example, the one that I gave about having an empty pack. The first question you need to ask yourself, I got it from a wholesaler or a distributor. That distributor, did they remove medicines from the pack? That is question number one. Maybe not. They also obtained it as a wholesaler from another distributor. Then the distributor bought it from let's say a manufacturing side. So we already have so many people in the chain that we have to assess. Then the point at which you identified the incident, probably you identified after the medicine had been dispensed to a patient who went with it home and reported that 2 or 3 days after. Chances are probably some of them are just not able to afford a refill of their prescription, and they've removed the medicine but making a false claim. So it's a complex situation that you need to understand. There's so many variables in that kind of a challenge, and you need to be able to understand how do I address that. So in the preparation, you need the quality incident form that is going to guide you on what needs to be done when such a thing happens, what are the steps that you need to take, and having that documentation. And as an organization, that is something that we are very critical about from Africa Pharmaceutical Network perspective, agriculture, health, and social innovation. We're currently designing such forms and are willing to offer consultancy services to people who are working in the community pharmacy space and are keen on putting in place these quality management systems and documents. You need an SOP, you need a working practice, you need these quality incident management forms. We're able to support you in getting that upon engagement and seeing what would work for you better. Then other than the preparatory phase, we go to the detection and reporting of these quality incidents. Once you detect it, you need to be able to report it. The question is, who do you report to? So first of all, you need to fill the form as I've indicated. Once you fill it, you've detected maybe it's a patient who reports it back, a guardian to the patient who reports it to you, a person, a support assistant is noticing it, maybe doing in stock text. And even you, when you're receiving stock from your distributor, you identify, by the way, there's a problem in this, you detect it, you need to document it. Then after documenting, you now need to report it appropriately. You will notify your distributor, your wholesaler who brought you the medication, to let them know that we are having a challenge with this medicine. These are the incidences. And as I've indicated, the name of your pharmacy, the name of the person responsible or the person documenting that incident has to be them. The date of occurrence, the brief description of the occurrence, the assessment in terms of the criticality, which type of an incident is it? Then what are the recommended next steps? And the next steps will be based on what the discussion that I'm getting into now. So once you do that, report it to if it involves a product that is not supposed to be in the market, probably it's not registered, it's not safe, it's in the wrong language, the packs are labeled incorrectly, you need to notify the regulator, First Pharmacy and Poisons Board, recall some of the patients that you've sold it to, notify your distributor, wholesaler, who will now cascade it to the ultimate manufacturer. And if you're able to reach out to the manufacturer directly, the better, because we want as much information to flow to the end person who has responsibility in managing such incidents. So that is how we need to move on. Then the next thing after doing that initial documentation, you have a triage and analysis of the situation. And in that triage and analysis of the situation, you can look at the fishbone or the 5Y framework. And either the fishbone or the 5Y framework is looking at breaking down the incident. This is what happened. How did it happen? To what end? So that at the end of the day, you can establishing the root cause of the problem. It might be a flaw in the system that, let's say, for example, a tableting machine at the manufacturing line. But if you can go to that instead of identifying that, then it means we can share information with the manufacturer to control that incident, to correct, actually, to recalibrate or to replace the machine that is faulty. So that is why we do the root cause analysis. If it's a problem of somebody bringing in products in the market unlawfully, the regulator has an enforcement arm that is able to push for that. So that is where we need to look at it. Triage and analysis, establishing the root cause. And once we establish the root cause, we move to the next phase, containment and neutralization. We need to contain the harm. That is where we have the recall and withdrawal process on one end. But on the neutralization, looking at reporting to ensure we prevent it from happening. Based on our training, we told you cannot actually test quality into a product, quality into a system, but you can build it into the system. And that is why we talk about quality assurance. So what are the preventive measures? Do we need double checks? If you already dispense it to the patient, you need to ask yourself, this is already taking too much time in your system. So when you're procuring, can you actually review all the medicines and counter check that they're all in the right format that you expected and everything at the point of receiving the products at your warehouse? So that that is a preventive measure. Ultimately, that is cascaded across the chain. So containment, what are the corrective actions for the immediate incident? Neutralization, looking at the long-term future prospects of such an incident happening. So the preventive actions. Once you come up with all these, you now need to implement them, that is within the containment and neutralization as well, and actually even reviewing your SOPs, your working practices, your quality incident reports and all that. Once you finalize on that, go to the next phase, post-incident activity. After you finalize all the activities, the corrective action, the preventive actions are being implemented, you now need to do a report and review whether they are working and then ensuring you meet the quality standards that you aspire to achieve as a pharmacist, as a pharmacy outlet, and in terms of delivery of healthcare services to the people. And on that account, that is where you do the effectiveness check. An effectiveness check is just an assessment whether what you did was working, it doesn't work, how do you make it work better? And all that gives us the framework on quality incident handling in community pharmacy practice. If you feel there's some information that you need from us, support that we can offer, we are willing to engage and see how to make this work for all of us. And generally, when you're dealing around quality incidents, on the right, you can see I have the best practices that you need to establish. And these are based on the guidelines and the best practices in the market. Then you need to find the root cause of the problem. That goes to the triage and analysis. The rules of the game, the guidelines, the laws of the country, your own SOPs and working procedures, ISO standard, what are global recommended frameworks, counterfeit, substandard, they're all that. Governance systems, we have a regulatory framework in place, we have a regulator in place, we have enforcement agencies, and the regulations as they are. What are the past incidences that we've had? How have we handled them? What are the learnings? So that we document and improve on it over time. And that is one thing that we need to adopt and ensure that we meet. Forms I mentioned, the quality incident reporting form. So as much as we're doing all these, we need to ask ourselves, are we doing it with an aspiration to continuously improve, to put in place structures, systems, and frameworks that are going to ensure we meet the expected outcomes? If you're able to, that would be a win for all of us. Thank you so much. Let's engage again in the next Sunday. But now this was handling quality incidents. If you enjoy the discussions, you're willing to engage with us more, please subscribe to the channel, follow the links, like, subscribe, and let's engage, share with your colleagues as well. Thank you.